everybody, welcome back to Tomcat Air Guns. What we're going to take a look at today is the Atlas Clone bipod. Now as you can see, I am surrounded by bipods. I've got some here and there and plenty in front of me. And I just want to let you know there are other choices other than clones. I am biased, and I don't mind telling you throughout this video that you can have a Harris bipod instead of a clone, and it's going to be better. That's going to be the theme of this entire video. And here it is, the clone. The best thing and the most attractive thing about the Atlas clone is going to be the price tag. For about 1/8 to 1/10 the price of a real Atlas. This is a real Atlas, by the way. They're available at accu-tac.com. For about 1/8 or 1/10 the price, you can get yourself something that looks similar and functions in a lot of the same ways as a real Atlas. The Atlas clone is going to fall into the category of 6 to 9 inches. It's going to retail somewhere in the neighborhood of between, let's say, $25 to about $45 or $55. And I have no idea what the weight is because I never cared to look. It's available with a quick release Picatinny mount, which I'm a really big fan of. I really like taking a more expensive bipod and a better quality bipod and moving it from rifle to rifle to rifle. The legs have a 45-degree forward and back option, as well as stowed forward and back and 90 degrees. Oh, that's sloppy. And by the way, UTG makes a very nice bipod as well. As far as I know, there are no adapters available. However, you can get this bipod with, instead of this sort of wannabe locking nut down here, you can get like a handle. So you can fold your legs up and then you can have like a handle grip in front of your gun. And that's neat. I think you can also get like a little laser pointer for your cat, or you might be able to get some other trinkets along with the bipod. Oh, it also comes in red, and I've seen tan and obviously black, so you can get different colors as well. So that's kind of neat. This clone is a wannabe copy of the V8 bipod from Atlas. And here's the V8 right here. This is the one where the legs spin. Okay. Well, it's nice and smooth. And here is the clone, which it almost feels, I don't want to say there's dirt in there, but a whole lot of drag in there. A lot of drag. The loosely fitting feet with the cheap rubber actually do come out. There's a little push button on the bipod. You push that in and your feet pop right out. And you can replace that with the true Atlas feet, which are of a much higher quality, do not fit into the clone. So maybe the clones are sold with accessory feet. So let me show you how to put it onto your rifle. But before I do, let me just mention that Caldwell also makes bipods. It's called the AccuMax bipod. You might consider that as well. The easiest way to tell the difference between the two is going to be right here. This has kind of a top hat look to it, a top hat design, and this one does not. It's just a straight collar. On top of that, you can see that the knurling on this will grip into just about anything. It really does grab your skin very well, versus this one where it really doesn't grip all that well at all. And just like up here, you know, the knurling matches, it's going to grab, it's going to rip paint off, it's going to grip into anything that you want. Whereas this is going to be very slippery, and especially if you have wet hands or cold, or, you know, icy gloves on, this is going to be really, really slippery still. The feet do attach the same way. You can see a little bit of a difference there. This is a much higher quality rubber, whereas this is more of a plastic, so it's going to be a lot more slippery on whatever surface you put it on. Moving up the legs, I can see a difference here in the knuckle part. This one has sharp edges to it, whereas this one's beveled off. Also, you can see the difference in this plate here and the button. You can see the difference in the two metals. This one's got a 4-point, and this one has a 5-point knuckle on it. Oddly enough, this really does represent the old Gen 1 style of Atlas bipod. So if you see that on a true Atlas, then you know you're getting a Gen 1. If you see the 4-point, you're getting a Gen 2. the button head on this versus the button head on that, you've got, it's a lot more proud sticking up there than this one is. This one's nice and flat. So when you go for a push on this, you can basically just push at the legs and you're not going to confuse whether you're pushing on this or that. It's real easy to tell the difference. With this one, maybe not so much because it's so high. On the attachment point, you can see that the Atlas has, it's made by American Defense. They're contracted out to make the tops of these, and I can tell you just by feeling it that this has just that high quality steel feel to it, whereas this is that chintzy metal again. On the clone, it's a hex nut and no flat spots to lock in, so it can be adjusted at any time. I couldn't tell you if that's standard American, metric, or somewhere in between, because it is coming out of China. So sometimes they make their own sizes and you have to just deal with that. In order to attach the bipod to your rifle, you're going to need a Picatinny rail, and you just fit it to the rail with the quick release lever opened all the way, and then push it either forward or backwards depending on how you mount it. But you just push it until it locks into place. And locked into place, it has a little bit of movement. So I'm going to try to see if I can take that up. The Atlas has those little flat spots on it. And generally, if you're too tight or too loose, you can hit one of those little flat spots. You just turn to the next one, and that's going to get you the sweet spot to where you want to be. Now that feels right. Yeah, that's better. Now it's clamped into place nicely. But while I was doing that, I was thinking about this other UTG bipod in the background. The legs adjust 45 stowed forward and back, like I said earlier, by pushing this little button here, and you snap into the next slot. Now there is some slop built into that, as you can see there, and that is really the connection point between the button and this plate back here. In order to extend the legs for length, just a minute, there's an accu-tac box right here, because accu-tac makes really top-notch bipods. In order to extend the legs for length, you pull down on this collar, which has quite a bit of spring tension actually. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see a little less spring tension. And then you lock into one of these slots down here. Now if I'm going to give a compliment to the clone, it's going to be right here, because there's really not a lot of slop in this system. When you extend it all the way, you would think you'd see a little more flex in this extension piece, and whoops, there it's locked in place. Well, apparently it doesn't lock in place all the time either. This locking nut right here, if you loosen that up, it's going to allow tilt, like so, and swivel. And then you tighten it down at the position that you want. That's about it. Let's see how it performs at the bench. All right, guys, so here we are at the bench. I've got to get this accu-tac bipod out of the way, as well as this gg&g tactical, before I can get started. I think the bench is a very important, here's the Atlas foot. I think the bench is a very important position to illustrate the movements and the features of the bipod. So let's see how we do here. We're clamped on, all set up. I've got flex in the system. I get it's not flex, it's slop actually. I've got this much slop in the system. So yeah, I've already got that. And this is tightened down as much as it can be, and there's still slop. And that's coming from right here. It's not from the attachment point here. It's actually in the system itself. But let's say that I have to, adjust for a little bit of height. And where's my level at? I don't even know where my level's at. Oh, that's tight. So I can't overcome for this here. It's not going to get me back to level. It's somewhat close, but I'm just running into the thing here, so maybe something a little bit less. So here's the Atlas book with all the other accessories that they sell. It's quite a thick book, but it's not quite as thick as that tin of pellets that I have there. And I can almost come back to level. That looks like to be maybe about 1/2 of an inch. So let me tighten it down in. Let me tighten it down. This doesn't have tilt. It advertised that it did, and that's one of the reasons why I was, you know, like, wow, 25 bucks, it's got tilt, it's got pan, it's got everything. What seems to be going on here is if you loosen it, you do have the ability to tilt, like free wheel tilt, no restriction, and you know, a lot of slop in there, really ugly. But then when you go to tighten down, say you need to overcome for a bench that's a little bit tilted, you can't, because as you tighten this down, it's either going to stay loose like this, or as you tighten it down even more, it's going to want to bring that rifle back to that 90-degree position. So tilt is kind of non-existent. As far as pan goes, I can loosen this up, and I've got pan. In fact, yeah, I've got 360 degrees of pan on this bipod. It'll spin all the way around, and it actually does two things at once. If you spin it around like this, it'll not only give you 360 degrees of spin, but it's also going to loosen your locking nut here as you go. So you can really, I mean, it'll probably fall off if I keep going. Yeah, so that's kind of nice, because on the tightening side, I can use this to kind of tighten it into place. As long as I do it perfect, I should hit that nice 90 degrees, and that's going to allow this rifle to sit. Whoops, so I knocked over my accu-tac bipod, FCG2. That's going to allow the rifle to sit right back at that 90-degree position. As far as adjusting the legs go, it's going to be easiest to pick the gun up and adjust the legs from back here, since unlike the Atlas, which has the top hat design, this one's going to be a little bit harder to manipulate over here. It's still doable, it's just a little bit harder. Yeah, it feels like somebody rubbed a bunch of chalk in there. It's kind of got that sliding on chalk type of feel to it. Once we're up here, you know, the same amount of slop is just going to be enhanced. So, all right, guys, here we are outside. I'm going to test loading into the rifle, but before I do, I want to mention that even though I'm not a fan of this and I think it's a toy, the gun is not. The gun's real, but it is unloaded, safe, no bullets are in the area, and we're not going to be shooting today. So next thing we're going to do is load the rifle, and what that means is you got something like this, a little barrier or something, and you're going to put the bipod up against, and then you're going to push into your rifle, and that helps with your accuracy downrange. So we push into it, and it's not bad. I mean, it's going to stop your, you know, your pushing. It feels rubbery, kind of, as I push in, and that's the flex that I have with this, sorry, the slop that I have with this system right here. Reverse loading is kind of the same thing, except in reverse. So you're going to be pulling back on the rifle and taking your shot. Sorry, it came loose on me there. Well, that's as tight as I can get it anymore. That didn't take long. I didn't think it would break so quickly, but I can't lock this in anymore. Oh man. So I guess I'll try to continue with this test, since this is already broken. And this is like a true break. There's something just totally malfunctioning in here. Running the rifle back and forth for pan. I do have pan, and I have this little bit of slop tilt built in, but if I could loosen this up, I would. It's really jacked up in there. I'm going to take it to the shop and see if I can work on it real quick, and I'll get back to you guys. But before I do that, I want you to just take notice that there is an accu-tac box behind me, as well as UTG and the UTG Recon bipod as well. Once I took the two bolts out of the top of this, it came right off. And then you're going to see this plate on here with a silver bolt top on it. If you loosen up your thumb screw off the bottom, these two pieces will come right out. This will come up and out. Now you want to hold it in case you do that, because you don't want to lose that little pin in there or have the bolt fall out. Once I was in here, I saw this washer looking thing with the bevel to it, and that's supposed to be my my tilt adjustment right there. It's supposed to interact with the bottom of this and give me some tilt. But it, doesn't really work. And then there's just a spring in there. But I want to see if I can maybe put a washer on this somewhere, and see if I can just, take the gap up a little bit, and maybe that's going to allow me to tighten this up again and get back to work on the review. That's a pretty ugly washer I made out of there, but I had to file it to make it fit because I don't know what size that thing is, and I don't have a drill bit that big. I left it all burry because I actually want it to catch. I want it to solidify so I can actually use the bipod again. I am going to reassemble it here. It seems like that might have given me the grip that I was looking for in order to make this work. So I'm going to finish putting it together and see you back outside. Wish me luck. I think it's going to hold, so we'll see. I'm going to move on to Barricade, which is when you've got something like this, you need to shoot through a hole, or you've got a wall you're going to lean up against. I've seen guys do it. Really? The leg, gotta be kidding me. Guys. So this is going to be a little hard for you guys to see, and I realize that, but the inside of the button is actually running into the framework. If you push it too far, it runs into there. Jesus. Anyway, I've seen guys do this with the legs forward, but with the weakness already displayed from this bipod, I'm not going to do that. We're going to come in like this, and if you get it right, you can come in and you can hit the base. But the problem is your lever here, actually I'll put it on the other way, and then the lever is going to be out of the way. And I'll hit the actual base of the unit here. Okay, so base of the unit. Oh, it slipped. I haven't had any, I don't think I've had another bipod actually slide like that. But I can come in and it's transferring everything, all the weight from this wall, straight up through the Picatinny mount. So it's a good, solid platform. Same thing's going to be up here, no matter what. As long as you hit the base, you're going to lean in, and it's going to transfer right up to the Picatinny clamp. So the bipod's not really included in that. If I wanted to use this as a handle, seeing what it did before, I wouldn't trust it. That's just me personally. It's up to you. Is it solid? Well, it's got a little bit of slop in there, but other than that, it is pretty solid. Coming up on a post, for this post type of situation. Ooh, what was that? I just pushed the leg in further than it should be allowed to go, so it actually slipped. Oh, look at that. Oh my God, guys. I can defeat this leg by hand. Locked in place. This thing's a riot. I gotta move on, I can't. All right guys, here we are at the prone position, and I can get in nice and low just like the Atlas bipod, which is made a lot better, by the way. If I need to adjust the legs, it's just like up at the bench, I can do that. If I want to adjust for tilt and swivel, well, we've seen that fail, so yeah, I'm really afraid to adjust for any kind of tilt and swivel. The leg just popped out of place, I'm sorry. That's good, yeah. You've got this slop here, you can lean in and take up that slop if you want. Oh, I'm on the carpet because it twisted. You still have this slop built in here, and that's going to be about it. So as far as kneeling and sitting goes, this bipod really wasn't made for it. And it won't do the Atlas trick, which is adding, say, a wooden dowel in here to give you whatever length you need, because this was less than a 1/2 inch. I don't know what the inside diameter of this is, but you might have to really do some some tricky work in order to get that system to work out. But a new feature of this bipod is, the foot fell off. That's okay, it snaps back on because it's like a plastic. Yeah, you don't need to use this at all to make your adjustments. You just push and pull. All right, guys, so this last series of movements I'm going to do is made to simulate using the bipod in a more stressful environment. If it can keep up with me. So once I get this locked in, then I will actually start with that test. What I'm going to do is start with the bipod in the stowed position. I'm going to bring the legs down to 90 degrees, come in for a barricade shot, simulate 2 shots. I will extend the legs all the way, make sure they're locked in place, and simulate 2 prone shots. We're going to go to 45 degrees, simulate 2 bench rest shots. First thing I got to do is try to lock this down a little more because it's just got a little bit too much jiggle in it. How do you like that leg slop right there? Whee! Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, go. 90 degrees, okay. And pop, pop. Locked in place, and pop, pop. And, and pop, pop. So I kind of cheated there. The fact that I don't have to pull this collar down, I think it actually makes it faster than the Atlas. Of course, you're dealing with all this stuff. Let me try that again. I got lucky with the button push because, like I was saying earlier, you can run right into the base on both sides. So you got to be careful not to push that button too far. In 3, 2, 1, go. 90 degrees. Okay, and pop, pop. I'll try not to laugh so much this time. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, go. 90 degrees. 90 degrees and barricade and pop, pop. Pop, pop. 45, I hit the base there. And pop, pop. On every one of those rounds, I cheated. And I just manipulated the legs like this. So that is one benefit of the clone over the Atlas, is the legs will not lock into place. This is really easy too, by the way. It's really not, oh, there goes the foot again. It's really not that hard. So it's getting kind of late out here. So let me get all this stuff back inside and talk about some pros and cons. The price tag, first of all, straight out of the gate, is awesome. 25 bucks to maybe 50 bucks, somewhere in that neighborhood, is really cheap for a bipod. I mean, that's like super duper. That's even less expensive than the Harris, which is around $75, or the Magpul, which is about $100, or I think the Caldwell was in that $100 range as well. So for 100 bucks, you can get legs on your rifle. And if that's what you're shopping for, is legs on your rifle, then this clone might be for you. Sorry, leg wouldn't lock in place. Another thing on the pro side, depending on how you look at it, is how easy the legs are to deploy. I didn't realize that at first when I was sitting down at the bench and I was using the collar, which I think is how it's designed, but turns out you don't have to, which is kind of fast, really. I mean, that's cool. The legs did pop off a few times, so you might stand a chance to lose those, unfortunately. And they aren't plastic. They're kind of in between plastic and rubber. They're a very stiff, hard rubber, slippery too. Oh, the leg extension, that's right. There was such a small amount of leg slop in there that that was really impressive. In fact, I'm going to compare that to the V8. The V8 has a lot more slop in it than the clone does. So as far as that goes, the clone actually beat out the V8 for slop in the leg extension part. Now there's a lot of shooters out there that have commented to me that I have a clone and I like it and it works just fine. Well, you know what? I'm happy for you. Hey man, if that works, great, happy shooting, let's go have some fun. But if you're looking for something that's going to not let you down and perform as advertised, look around. You know, I keep mentioning it, accu-tac. Obviously Atlas is the better way to go. You've got Modular Evolution, Harris, accu-tac, I already mentioned them, UTG a couple times over, the Magpul one. You've got on the con side. Where do you want me to start? Subpar materials. Yep. And if you push this thing, it's probably going to break on you. And I mean that in an extreme environment, and not by putting it on a bench and maybe pushing into it. That's not pushing this bipod. And I mean in an extreme environment, this is going to fail on you. The way this whole system malfunctions and doesn't work, it goes from a tight and locked into place with almost no wobble. I'd say, let's see, nah, there's not really any wobble in there. It goes from tightened up with no wobble after I put the washer in, to loosey-goosey, and oh, it runs into itself there too. There's so much interference with this thing, it hates itself. Yeah, it goes from tight to totally loose like that. The thumb screw doesn't work. It doesn't give you enough tension to do anything with. Tilt doesn't work. It just pulls that rifle back to that 90 degrees. Pan does work. In fact, it works too well. As soon as you get the ability to pan, you've got no restriction and you've got a bunch of slop built in. The locking lever and the attachment point, this, you know, loose, and then all of a sudden it gets real tight and then it locks. And it's almost like letting off a little bit of pressure when it locks in place. Really not a happy thing. The button here is too big, in my opinion. When you go to press, you might press on the hinge point instead of the button, and I've had that happen before. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Oh, the button interferes with the body. Let me bring you guys up close so you can really get a good look at that. I push this button in, and if I push too far, it runs into the base right up here in the corner. There's actually silver shavings for me doing this today. So yeah, it runs into the base. The button is very weak. The spring in here, it's just a very weak spring. I don't like it very much as compared to the Atlas. I mean, this is the leg flex locked in place. Slop, sorry. I have been biased throughout this whole video, but I've also tried to let the bipod speak for itself. Does it work or does it not? Am I overly aggressive with it? I haven't been overly aggressive with this any more than I've been with any of these other bipods that I have all around me. So that is a true test of the bipod, is watching what it's doing, not necessarily listening to my banter and my jokes. 25 bucks gets you legs on your rifle. That's about where it stops for me. Now for some people, they like taking something like this and they like trying to turn it into something like this, a true Atlas V8 bipod. If that's your style, great for you, man. Keep up the good work. There are a couple of tips out there that I've seen, something about adding washers inside here and maybe shaping something a little different or whatever, whatnot. I haven't looked into it too far because I'm not interested in doing that. I just want a bipod that's going to work coming out of the box. That's not what this is. I want to show you products to let you know that they're out there, give you my opinion, and help you to formulate your own opinion on them to see if they're right for you, to help you become the shooter that you want to be. I hope I was able to do that for you with this review of the Atlas Clone bipod. I would implore you, consider any of the other ones that are around me. Additionally, I'm on Airgun 101 now, so you can head on over there to check out my videos, as well as videos from other content creators from all around the world. If you'd like, you can send a donation my way through PayPal. It's paypal.me/Tomcat Airguns. That'll go directly to me, and it'll help to maintain and support the continuation of this channel. And I really would appreciate any kind of help you might want to send my way. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and happy shooting. Oh, and I gotta add just one thing. Through all the bipod reviews I've been doing, I think this one has made me laugh the most.